what's going on, guys? This is gonna be a new channel I just started. It's gonna be called Harleys Owl News Recap. Holy shit, I cannot speak. Today we're gonna cover the recent news of Twilight getting picked up by the Toronto Defiant, Choi Obin's retirement, and 9K going to the San Francisco Shock as an assistant coach. So, first I think we should talk about probably Twilight going to the Toronto Defiant. I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think. Okay, so I think this is a great move for the Toronto Defiant as they pick up arguably one of the best flex supports, even the best flex support in the league in Twilight, of course. Now, I don't think he has any synergy with Hisu, which is their only member, but I think KDG can make these two work. I mean, they're both excellent, talented players that are really good at what they do, and that's being flashy and good at the game. I mean, realistically, Twilight didn't get used this season a lot because of Violet. He's always been like kind of in Violet Shadow unless like it's a double flex support meta, right? Or something like that, right? So I think this will give him a chance to obviously start all the time. I mean, we saw what he could do when he started all the time when back on that Vancouver Titans team. Sorry, I fucking had a weird like hiccup thingy. But we saw what he could do. We saw just how good he was. Honestly, I mean, he's a cracked player. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, the stats prove, I mean, every time he's in, he always does good. I mean, this man rarely has an off game, and when it's an off game, it'd be a regular game for, like, a bad flex support. Or no, not a bad flex support, like an average flex support. You know, like, he's a good flex support, obviously. So, now I think I'll get into the sad news of Choi Obin retiring. Of course, this is sad for if you're an Owl fan, if you're a Shock fan, if you're just follow it at all, you know about Choi Obin. I mean, he has the accolades to prove it. I mean, in 2020 he was in the MVP talk. In 2019, that their first Grand Finals win, he won Grand Finals MVP. I mean, that's no like weak feat. I mean, that Shock team was stacked from head to toe. I mean, they had so many great pieces that it's really hard to like say that team was bad, you know? So yeah, I think it's really sad. I hope the best for Choi Obin, whatever he does after this. I mean, because that kid's just cracked. I mean, he has so much potential. And pretty much, I think any game that he plays, I mean, he will probably be cracked. I mean, we already saw it with Overwatch. Maybe he goes into, like, full-time streaming. Maybe, I mean, he talked about, on the YouTube, video of, like, the Shock saying goodbye. He talked about how he's going on to the military. Yeah, so wish him luck there. So yeah, it's really sad to see, of course. I mean, this guy was a staple. He was a consistent off-tank. I mean, when you needed someone to step up on that Shock team, it was probably Choi Obin that was going to do it. I mean, he's just so nutty on pretty much every off-tank he played. I think the only off-tank that was, like, because he wasn't... Sorry, I'm sick. He wasn't a terrible Zarya. He wasn't the best, obviously, but his Sigma, it was cracked. I mean, we saw that firsthand in the 2020 playoffs. As Diva, of course, multiple times. I mean, even this year, he was considered one of the best Divas in the league. Because that's just how consistent he was, you know. Choi Obin pretty much never had a bad game, you know. Every time maybe the Shock were starting on a comeback or they were down big and they needed someone to, like, have a big performance, it was probably Choi Obin that was going to do it. Now, he maybe, like, wasn't the biggest, like, personality on the team. Of course, it's hard to be a big personality when you have Super on your team. But he was definitely consistent and he was stable. He did what he did, and he did it well. So, best of luck to wherever Choyobin goes next and what he does. I really hope he just succeeds, you know? I mean, me not even being a Shock fan, I mean, it's still sad to hear just because of, like, his importance to the league. I mean, when Sigma first came in, everyone was like, oh, what is Sigma going to provide? And then, like, Choyobin kind of came in and, like, showed how good and how dominant Sigma can be when a good player is playing him. I mean, realistically, he was the best Sigma in that 2020 playoffs, 2020 season period. I mean, he was just so cracked, as I've already said multiple times. I mean, I just think this kid is amazing at what he does in pretty much every other aspect of, like, because he could move on to be a pro in a different game. And, I mean, if he does, I mean, fuck, he'll probably become one of the best players there. I mean, he's just so good at video games in general. He had a great personality and everything, and I really am going to miss him in this league. So best of luck to Choyobin on whatever he does. So now for the final piece, I'm going to talk about 9K joining the San Francisco Shock as a head coach. Now, I think this is a good move, you know. 9K's already been with the Shock before. I think it was inaugural season he was head coach, I want to say. So, yeah, inaugural season, I think he was head coach. Of course, they didn't do well, but they were tanking, you know, waiting for Sinatra to turn 18, waiting for their big talent, of course. And then we saw what Sinatra could do. He was great. So, 9K joining the Shock as the assistant coach. I think this is a good move for the Shock. I think getting someone that they're familiar with back in their system will be good for them. Maybe they have, I don't want to say a bounce back year, because getting fourth is no, like, pity feat. It's not a bad feat. I mean, they got fourth in the whole entire league. I mean, of course, that's awesome, right? But, I mean, it's not Shock, like, standards. Of course, Shock standard is winning the grand finals. So, of course, that Shock team going for a rebuild, I think this is a nice step in the right direction. Getting someone that's used to their system, of course, back in the rotation, I think that will be good for them. Also, one last point before I go here. It was Jin getting promoted to the head coach of the Philadelphia Fusion. Now, 9K was released by the Fusion, then picked up by the Shock. If you did not know that, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. But, yeah, Jin was, I think, assistant coach, I believe. So, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe he coached somewhere else. I don't know. I couldn't really remember as I'm making this video. So, yeah, of course, 9K had some questionable decisions on that Philly Fusion team when he was there. I definitely don't think he was, like, terrible, but, I mean, he was never in Coach of the Year runs. I mean, made some very questionable decisions that made for some very tough losses at times, and I felt like it was because of 9K, and I felt most Philly fans thought because of it was 9K, right? So, I think maybe this could be a right step in the right direction. Of course, they lost Funny Astro to free agency, but there's a potential they could get him back, you know. It's just free agency. They could re-sign him at the last second, you know. Kind of how, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember who it was, but last year kind of just got, like, LFT'd the whole free agency, and then the team just picked him back up because he was good, right? So, I can't remember which player it was. Fucking maybe put it in the description. I don't know if that's enough work. Because right now it's currently like 2 in the morning as recording this. And so I really would probably make this and then get some sleep. But that's besides the point. Jin, from what I've heard, he's been good wherever he was coaching before. So maybe this is the right step in the Philly Fusion's direction on getting better and really just taking that next step, because it's not like are a bad team. It's just they haven't been really in, like, title contentions and stuff, you know. So maybe they're going for a hard reset. Who knows, right? So I think that's all that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, and also Coach Kookie left the Florida Mayhem. Just wanted to briefly put that in. I mean, Coach Kookie was good, of course. Just wanted to briefly put that in before I go. So yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about for today, and I will talk to you whenever some big news gets released. So yeah, until then, I guess see ya.